everybody again.
Welcome back, Marriage Game On channel.
We're enjoying this. So for those of you that maybe you've just skipped and gone straight to this one, which is what I do sometimes. I'm Nath, this is Joy, my wife. We've been married for 11 years and it is so good to be with you. Maybe you're watching this in 2022, 2023, who knows when you're watching this? But hopefully you're watching it now in 2020 and you're following the series. The sessions don't join, but hopefully each week we try and give you something practical that's helped us, that we're learning. It might be in season, might be out of season, but we hope our heart is that we can help relationships and marriages. So thank you for subscribing, thank you for all the likes and shares, and what are we going to be talking about?
Well, tonight, Nathan, we're talking about high heels or Converse. We're talking about decision making, we're talking about how do we make our decisions, and obviously this is a really crucial decision, ladies, because this can sometimes be a mistake. These, I don't know, are often a mistake. But anyways, so before we get into the meat of today's session, I just want to tell you about a book that I'm reading, which is called Extreme Ownership. And it's written by a couple of guys who are part of the Navy SEALs.
It's so good.
And there's a section in this book that's a little bit relevant to what we're going to be talking about today. So basically, this guy's the head of a SEALs platoon. He makes a lot of decisions. He's in charge of a lot of people underneath him and coordinates a lot of different groups on the battlefield. And he just starts describing this scenario where there's error after error in communication, there's errors in people not sort of following the plan that they'd set out, there's errors in identifying other forces of the SEAL units and what was going on in this war zone area. And what ends up happening is they have what they call a blue on blue, so friendly fire, which is an absolute disaster, as you can imagine. War is horrific anyway, and then to end up having casualties because there's not been good communication and you've got friendly fire is the most awful scenario that you could imagine. So this guy, as kind of head of the operations in that area, was under scrutiny and he was pretty mad. He wanted to know who was at fault, what happened, where did the breakdowns occur that led to this awful occurrence on the battlefield. And what he sort of went through this process of trying to find who he could blame, and there were plenty of people who had made mistakes that could have been culpable for that responsibility, but he just felt like that wasn't right to pin it all on these different individuals. And it was amazing because at the end of that whole kind of process of assessing what had happened and working out what had gone wrong, he actually took all the responsibility on himself. And he recognised that some of the things that he'd done in his kind of decision making that led up to that and his communication to the teams was actually the breakdown. He was the leader in charge of all of that scenario. So regardless of where the mistakes had happened on the battlefield, he felt it was his to take ownership of. And it's just this incredible sort of example of humility where decision making had broken down, communication had broken down, and that he took responsibility because he wanted to see the best outcomes moving forwards. He wanted the best learning to happen so that they could avoid this ever happening again. And it's just a brilliant book of loads of different principles of leadership. So if you're into that kind of thing, I'd really recommend it. But just to kind of set us off when we're thinking about decision making and thinking about our part in that, I just thought that would be a cool story to share. So
yeah. And the great thing about that is when he talks everything about being on a winning team, it's never about I, it's never about the individual, it's all about a team. And how we want to view our marriage or your relationship is about a team. So it's not about me making the right decisions to get one over Joy or knocking down her decisions. Actually, we want to come together because actually a winning team in any walk of life, business, sport, church, marriage, you want to be about coming together and making those decisions. And often we don't think about when we come together, we often can meet later in life and maybe we've spent 20, 30, 40 years, maybe longer than that, thinking for ourselves, making our own decisions, or maybe we've been in other relationships and other decisions have happened. But if you think about your formative years, about where you grew up, and that is how we form our decision-making process. And then we bring two people together and we can often get frustrated about how we make decisions, how we come together. But maybe sometimes we just need to stop and look back about how we were shaped and how we were wired to make decisions. And we can evolve that, we can change it if we need to. But it's just really important to look back before we look forward. So we're excited tonight to talk about decision-making in our marriage.
And high heels or Converse. Don't dig your high heels in. If you're having a disagreement, be willing to flex a little bit. Converse, have a conversation about it.
Game on, let's
See
go.
what we did there?
So you know what it's like in everyday life, in any relationship. And if you think just outside of a relationship, we're constantly making decisions. Our decisions shape the day, and they shape the next day, and they shape our future. So the way we make decisions is so important. And I just wonder, I'm just going to throw some decision making out to you, and I wonder if you can relate to these. So making decisions about where you're going to go on holiday, which school the kids are going to go to, who's getting up first with the kids in the morning, what dinner you're going to have, where do you want to spend your future, whose family you're spending Christmas with this year. The list goes on and on and on. And I wonder how sometimes you make those decisions together. I wonder if you've ever fallen out over making those decisions. I'm sure we all have. And sometimes it can be small decision making, and sometimes it can be big decision making, but they're all really important for how your relationship flows and everything that comes off that. So Joyce is going to talk to us about, she's got those heels again.
High heels. This is a bit of a good weapon, isn't it? But I don't use them like a weapon. Now, we talk about high heels and not digging your heels into your viewpoint.
Come on.
I think a lot of us, without meaning to, we can have gone through a whole process in our head when we're making our decision. And instead of verbalizing that and talking that through with our partner, we actually just present them the finished decision and expect them to go along with us.
Yeah.
And sometimes on the little things that won't matter, but on the bigger things that can be a bit of an issue, because Nath might feel like, I don't value him enough to take him on the journey. He might feel like, what's the point in discussing this, because you've already made your mind up. And the whole thing about high heels, not digging your heels in, is about not just presenting something with a really fixed mindset about this is the way it needs to happen, or this is how the decision needs to be made, and then justifying your position. Actually, we want to make decisions together. We want to go on a process together. We don't want to be immovable in what we think. And actually, the more time you work together on decision making, the easier it is to find compromise, because you're not going into it just having already decided. You're actually working that through together. So you're more likely to come out with a result that you both are hoping to meet, that works for both of you. And the chances are, if you've made your decision all by yourself, you're not going to feel all that fulfilled. You're not going to feel like the other person's with you. They might not get excited about the decision you've made, and you might be a bit annoyed about that. But if they've not been a part of the journey, why would they have that same investment in that process that you've got? So just a real encouragement to not just kind of dig your heels in, be really stubborn about what you think the right outcome is, and to make sure that you're working with one another on that. And actually, the thing to dig your heels in about is the fact that you both want to win. You want to be on the same team. Neither of you are setting out to make decisions that are going to upset the other person in the relationship. You both are trying to make decisions that are hopefully for the best of everybody in your family or between you. So dig your heels in to decide, actually, we're going to make decisions in the way that is best to help us win and to grow together and learn together. And if it goes wrong, don't blow up in the other one's face, I told you so. Actually, we want to be so together. We want to be a team. Yeah. That's the whole point of a winning team. Will always make decisions together well and respect one another in the process. Yeah. And actually, diversity between us is a really good thing. If Nath thought the same as me all the time, that would be so boring in our relationship. If we just always chose the same things, always wanted the same things out of life, I would never learn and grow, and I'd never have... Healthy challenge is a good thing. Yeah, I'd never have my perspective challenged. And sometimes we've got the wrong perspective on stuff. And the very good thing about having someone who's from a totally different background and upbringing to us, that's suddenly a part of our worlds, is that we can grow and change with that person too. That's a really positive thing. So don't dig your heels in over the wrong things. Yes, great. And actually, if you're making decisions to get together, it's okay to get them wrong together as well, because that's the great thing about it. Because you trust each other and you feel accountable when you're on it together. We make wrong decisions all the time, but at least you're making them together. And a bad decision is better than no decision. Because you can learn and then make the good decision after that. Don't dig your heels in. So, what about having a conversation? Conversation. You've got to love what Joy's done there. And you know what, the process that we go down, and it's not always easy, is it? Because when we talked about at the start, coming from different worlds about how we make decisions, and sometimes we think, oh, that's just so small, I can just crack on and make it. But for the other person, actually, they want to be a part of it. And actually just getting good rhythms and making decisions so that when big things come, and hey, we all know that in life, different things are thrown at us from different ways, even decisions that we didn't even know we were going to make. It's good to get in the rhythm and the practice of making decisions together, so that when we come up to these obstacles, which we will, that we make them really well together. So put your Converses on and go for a walk. It's really good just to go for a walk and talk. Sometimes when we're in the four walls, actually you can feel a bit suppressed.
actually to go out, maybe just walk side by side, actually, so you're not looking at each other. It maybe just feels less confrontational, because sometimes if maybe it's something you're passionate about, you know, the way we communicate is really important. Whereas if you're outside in the fresh air, those endorphins are going off, but also you've got a chance just to listen. And it's really important, because it's part of it's having the good conversation. So we need to listen to the other person's viewpoint, understand why they think that about the decision. But then it might be a chance to there and then to talk about it, but it might be a chance to walk it through, listen to it, and then you revisit it at another time. Because hey, we all know as well, the part of making a good decision is not necessarily there in the moment. And so with that, making a decision at the right time is really important. So sometimes making decisions just before you go to bed is not a good thing, because we're tired, it's been the end of the day. So the timing of making decisions, or maybe the time that you present the thought in the first place, is really important. So again, just sometimes you need to prepare someone. So a bit like when you go to work, maybe you've sent someone the agenda to a team of 10 and you said, hey, this is what we're going to be talking about today. Please come with your thoughts. Then actually I've been set up to win because I'm feeling valued. This is what we're going to talk about. And it's the same. Hey, Joy, you know, maybe on Thursday when we're catching up over dinner, you know, I'd just like to talk about this. Would you mind? Can you come with some thoughts in it? Joy feels valued. She comes ready. We can be excited together because actually I want to make the decision together. So just the process of how we do that is really important. What else have we got? And yeah, I think just seeing it from a place of not confrontation is so easy sometimes. Again, if you don't pick the right time, or, you know, when there's lots of things going on, maybe you've got kids or there's phone calls and stuff, and then you quickly just go in because you want to feel like you've ticked it off your list. Well, think about how you give is how you might receive it. So just think about that time and that season, because you don't want to start with an argument. So how you present it is really important. And be prepared to shift. I think just finally, and there's lots of things we could say on decision making, be prepared to shift. You know, one of the great things about Joy over our kind of 11 years is I've had to shift mindset so many times. And Joy talked earlier about kind of this fixed mindset, but we kind of want to move really to a growth mindset, a winning mindset. And there's so many times where Joy's just shifted my thinking. I've been very fixed, and sometimes I don't even think I am, but then the way Joy presents it, and it's done through love and care, and she's speaking kind of through my language, she's made the effort to do that. It can just totally shift the way I think, and then suddenly I just feel released and so much better for it. And then how we approach it for the next time is better. So see your decisions as something that's healthy, it's positive, and that you can make together. And remember, what is it?
Don't dig your high heels in, have a conversation.
Come on.
Okay, so just a couple of take homes for you now. Number one, think about your backgrounds and have a chat with each other. Think about what are the things that have shaped the ways that each of you make decisions as you've grown up. Might be your families, might be different jobs that you've had, might be different life experiences you've had.
Yeah, that's great.
Chat and share, and just have a little think about the ways that you do that and how that differs from one another, because that might just be a great start for working forwards. And then point number two, walk decisions out together.
Yeah,
always start practicing with the smaller decisions, like what meals are we going to have this week, or those kind of things. Just practice walking it through together and see if that makes a difference in the way that you are communicating with one another about the decision making that happens in your relationship.
Come on. And number three is think when and how you should go through that decision making process together. So like I talked about, think about when's a good time to present it. Do you need to actually sort of just sow the seed in advance, you know, later this week, or when we get together, can we talk about this? So it gives, you want to approach it together. You both want to come with positive energy. You want to come with your thoughts. And you need to judge that depending on the type of decision. Is it small? Is it big? What we'd say is we'd encourage you to get in practicing with the small decisions. So how you want to present it, don't present it when they've just come off the phone, when they're doing dinner time, you know, in the middle of work, you know, just think about that time and when that's really important. And it places value. And then most importantly, number four, let's remember we are on the same team.
Come on.
Our marriage, your relationship, it's all about winning together. You win, I win. And that's the same for the decision-making process. So see it as something where you can come together as a winning team.
Come on.
Is that good? We hope this helped. We hope this content. Let us know. Thank you so much for everyone's feedback. If you've got any ideas on thoughts, themes that we can try and tackle, then we're more than happy to. And yeah, we hope this helps your decision making. And then Thursday, we're
COVID Couples Challenge.
Come
number
on.
7.
Number 7. I think it's 7?
7.
7 or 8, you know. Hopefully
number
you keep up.
7 coming at you.
So thank you. Join in with it. If you've got any COVID Couples challenges, then let us know as well. And yeah, share, like, subscribe, share it with people. And we can't wait to see you soon. Cheers, guys.
Bye.